It's one of the most detailed proposals to ever emerge from Washington to resolve one of the world's longest conflicts. 181 pages encompassing both a political and economic framework toward this vision of a Palestinian state. Scattered towns connected by tunnels.
I want this deal to be a great deal for the Palestinians. It has to be.
Alongside Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, U.S. President Donald Trump laid out what he called his suggestion to kickstart Israeli-Palestinian negotiations over the next several years. Israel would be granted all of its land claims beyond what it captured in the 1967 war, contravening international law. Israel would also maintain security control over all Palestinian territories until Palestinians meet a set of conditions. Hamas in Gaza must renounce what it believes is its legitimate resistance. All of Jerusalem would belong to Israel until Palestinians earn East Jerusalem. The return of refugees is entirely off the table, and Palestinians would not seek any damages at the International Criminal Court.
I know that it may take them a very long time to reach the end of that path. It may even take them a very long time to get to the beginning of that path. But if the Palestinians are genuinely prepared to take that path, if they're genuinely prepared to make peace with the Jewish state, and if they agree to abide by all the conditions you have put forward in your plan, Israel will be there. Israel will be prepared to negotiate peace right away.
In the West Bank, Palestinian leaders, none of whom were consulted in the crafting of the deal, are not entertaining the plan.
What should I wait for? If Jerusalem is not part of a Palestinian state, will we accept a state without Jerusalem? It is impossible for any Palestinian Muslim or Christian child to accept this. Therefore, we told them from the beginning, no.
In Gaza, fury at the U.S. president.
We reject this plan, the plan of shame that has nothing to offer Palestinians.
This so-called deal of the century has been wholeheartedly embraced by Trump and Netanyahu's supporters. But they're also both facing corruption charges. The Israeli Prime Minister is going to trial for bribery and fraud, while the U.S. President is in the midst of an impeachment for abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. Yasmine El-Sabawi, TRT World, Washington.
Well, for more, I'm joined by Omar Shaban in Ramallah. He's the founder and director of the Gaza-based independent think tank, PalThink for Strategic Studies. Welcome to the program, Omar. Now, we know Donald Trump has hailed this as the so-called deal of the century, a peace plan for the Middle East. But from the beginning, it really was just a one-sided affair, wasn't it? The Palestinian leadership wasn't involved in any way, and it really does seem to favour Israel. What are your thoughts on this? How do you respond to what was unveiled on Tuesday?
Good evening to you and to the audience. Of course, there are many drawbacks in this plan. First of all, it's not a plan for peace. It's if you want a plan for peace, you need to bring the two sides together. The Palestinian was not consulted in this plan at all. The Palestinians were not on the table of this plan. The Trump administration has started since December 2018, has taken some steps that demolish the Palestinian position. They announced Jerusalem as internal capital to Israel. They took the refugee issue out of the table. They suspended their support to UNRWA, United Nations. So the American policy in the Middle East is perceived totally biased. So they lost their credibility, and I don't think that there is a solid basis for this plan to be implemented, not only for this element, but for many other elements that in the ground, in reality, this plan is impossible to be implemented for this reason and for many other reasons. Of course, the Palestinian position was clear at all levels, at the leadership level, at the community level, at all the political faction. Even there is some rejection to the plan in America. There is some rejection within Israel to this plan. This plan is not going to happen. It would not bring peace to the area.
Now, Donald Trump and his Israeli counterpart as well, Benjamin Netanyahu, has said that it's now for the Palestinians to engage in negotiations and talks about this plan. Do you see that happening at all?
I don't see this is happening at all. The peace talks between Israel and the Palestinian stopped in 2013, the last time when John Kerry, the State Secretary, has made several tours in the Middle East and where he's trying to negotiate under Obama term, but he didn't succeed to bring Palestinian and Israeli into a solution. The outstanding issue between the Palestinian and the Israeli, like Jerusalem, refugee, border, water, sovereignty over the crossing, are not anymore in the table by the American administration. The American administration wants the Palestinian to negotiate of something that are already out of the table. To negotiate what? The Palestinian people are struggling for their political rights, and they have the international community declare, the international community position is that Palestine has their right to self-determination and to have their own state living side by side with Israel. And this is the basis for Oslo Agreement that was signed in 1993 between Israeli government and the PLO, the leadership of the Palestinian. There are no basis for this plan. Of course, there are other elements. For example, the Palestinian divide between Gaza, which is ruled by Hamas, and Ramallah, which is ruled by PA. There is no reconciliation. The Hamas under a movement that is not recognized by Israel or by the international community. This add another element that make this plan impossible to implement. There is no trust. There is no trust at all between the Israeli and the Palestinian. There is no trust on American involvement as a mediator, because the American under Trump administration have shown no neutrality in their involvement in the Middle East.
Now, in his announcement on Tuesday, he also reminded everybody about the plan that was unveiled about 6 months ago in Bahrain, the so-called economic plan to help create a Palestinian state. Jared Kushner, the White House senior advisor, promised to provide about $50 billion in international financing to fund a future Palestinian state. Do you see any merit in that plan, at least?
The Bahraini, the workshop that was organized in Bahrain 6 months ago and that presented some list of economic and developmental projects to be implemented in Palestine, in Gaza and Palestine, was not followed by any political contest. All this plan lack the political contest. You cannot do such a huge project in all sectors with such a huge money without having a political contest, without having stability. How can the American propose to implement project in health, energy in Gaza while they are not involved in Gaza, while Gaza is under a movement that organized as a terrorist organization by the American and by the Israelis? This is why the Palestinian reconciliation is a precondition for any plan.
Yes.
Second, there is no political contest process between the Palestinian Authority in Ramallah and the Israeli government. To do such a project, you need a partner, you need a counterpart. So this plan lack the political contest and the international support to this plan, because the EU position is not in favor with this plan. As I said, the Palestinian and Israeli, some Israeli are against this plan.
Okay. I'm very sorry to interrupt
the American candidate for the presidency, he said this plan is not going for peace.
Yes, Omar Shaban, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you so much for giving us your analysis from Ramallah.